Today, we're going to make a very simple fish stew with some chorizo, with some Cavolo Nero, and some cannellini beans. The whole dish cooks within half an hour, and it has everything. Let's do it. So, very simple. First, we sweat some chorizo for them to release the essential oil and flavors. We skin the chorizo. The skin is there to keep them together. It actually doesn't add much flavor. And we dice them. This is a wonderful weekday recipe. We cook as we prep. Chorizo in. I like to add a dash of oil just to help them get started. I know it looks very chefy to use a dry pan to sweat your chorizos, but different chorizos have different fat content, so you should factor that in and not just follow the recipes blindly. If it's starting to burn, it's time to add fat. This is a wonderful recipe for white fish in general, but particularly for frozen and low quality white fish because it adds so much flavor to the fish. While the chorizo is imparting some beautiful color and flavor, we prep half an onion to sweat, to mop up all those wonderful flavors. The recipe is just a guideline. You can use any aromatic vegetables you like, whatever's in season. So in the winter, leek is wonderful. Fennel, if you like the aniseed taste. Perfect. Once the chorizo has released a sufficient amount of beautiful orangey fat, we add the onions to mop up those wonderful flavors and evaporate the water content of the onions themselves to impart even more flavors and some sweetness to the whole dish. Because the chorizos are salty themselves, we're not going to salt at this point. We'll adjust the seasoning later accordingly. While that's evaporating, we prepare the Cavolo Nero, one of my favorite braising vegetables. It has a ton of complexity, and once you cook them down, they have really, really deep flavors. So what you want to do, you inspect the outer leaves to remove the very, very ugly and wilted ones. I'm so emotionally invested in filming this dish that this is not the best Cavolo Nero. You want them to have a much deeper color than this, but the recipe is still valid. So we remove the core. This is extremely chewy, even after braising. And we remove the leaves from the core in the middle, because that's also extremely chewy. Once that's done, you simply chop them roughly, and they go straight in as well. They're extremely forgiving when it comes to braising, so you don't have to worry about overcooking them. If you can't find Cavolo Nero, kale and cabbage are both extremely good substitutes. Again, buy whatever's in season. Basically, don't do what I'm doing. That's like the motto of the channel by now. Brilliant. Now we just cook them out a bit for the flavors to emulsify, and immediately that doesn't look like much Cavolo Nero after all, huh? Precisely because we're evaporating their water content as well, concentrating their flavors. Now, to balance the flavors of the chorizo and introduce a bit of acidity and brightness, we're going to add a dash of white wine. And we cook until we've evaporated the alcohol, but we don't want to reduce the wine too much. It's important to ask yourself why you're adding each ingredient, and when it comes to wine, you want different characteristics for different dishes. So if you're cooking a bolognese sauce, by all means, reduce the red wine for 8 minutes, 10 minutes to really, really concentrate the flavors. But in this instance, what we're trying to achieve is to introduce acidity. And of course, the more you evaporate, the more brightness and the more acidity you lose. Literally, we boil until the smell of alcohol has disappeared, and we move on. If you don't want alcohol, you could add a tiny dash of vinegar. Once the smell of alcohol has disappeared, we add some cannellini beans. These are canned cannellini beans that I've rinsed under cold running water just to get rid of the excess salt. Of course, if you have the time and you want to do the work, soak them yourself overnight, cook them in a very flavorsome broth. It's amazing. Now we taste and adjust the seasoning. And once you're happy with the seasoning, we add just enough water to cover everything. If you have homemade chicken stock, great, use that. But the chorizos are very flavorsome, so I wouldn't sweat over the stock. Everything's covered. Once this is back to a boil, put the lid on. It would be nice if you could find the correct lid for your pots. We reduce this to medium heat, and we let it cook for 20 minutes for the Cavolo Nero to really develop its complexity and for the beans to absorb the wonderful flavors of the chorizo. And then we poach the fish, we have dinner. I'll see you in 20 minutes. All right, after 20 minutes, we can cook our fish. Oh, look at that, beautiful. Today I'm using the cod fillet from Iceland, but any white fish would do with this recipe. sit this beauty in the middle, and we spoon some of this beautiful liquid on top just for emulsification. I personally don't like to over dilute this because with the lid, the fish will be half poaching, half steaming, imparting the fish oil and the fish flavor to the cooking liquid, while the surface of this fish would take on this wonderful chorizo taste. So as long as this is half submerged, it's good to go. So lid back on, and we let this simmer for 7 to 8 minutes, but after 5, I'd start probing it, checking the temperature, and you want the internal temperature of the fish to reach around 55 Celsius. With cod, it's very forgiving. You can take it up to 61 if you want it on the flakier side. So I'll see you in 7 or 8 minutes. All right, after a bit more than 5 minutes, we probe. Judging from the shrinkage, I think we're there, but let's see. We're about 5 degrees away, so lid back on, a couple of minutes. Now, we probe again. Perfect. Once again, we spoon this beautiful liquid just to help the flavors emulsify it a bit more. You taste and you adjust the seasoning, and that's it. Stove off, and we can plate. This is incredible. Oh, look at that. Beans, this with a bit of bread, a bit of boiled potatoes. Very carefully sit beautiful cod top. A bit more of this wonderful chorizo infused liquid. And that's it. That's seafood dinner in half an hour. This is cod poached in a chorizo and Cavolo Nero stew. I really hope you enjoy. Perfect.